Your favorite thing is your favorite thing, and my favorite thing as far as Hyundai SUVs was this. Back in 2022, Hyundai redesigned the Tucson completely and introduced for the first time ever a Tucson N Line. It was my absolute favorite, but if they got it right the first time, there would have been no room for improvement, and in 2023, they finally did. So this video is going to go over why I feel the 2023 Tucson N Line is the best Tucson available. Let's talk about it. Originally introduced in 2022, the Tucson N Line was the replacement for the Tucson Sport, and I think they did a phenomenal job, not just in the replacement and then in the naming, but also in the style. Now, Hyundai did an excellent job at keeping the Tucson classy while also giving it a hint of menacingness with that bodywork, because from the front you can tell that this big, nearly evil looking smile, the Tucson, is behind you and you almost feel like it's out to get you. But if you even stand on the back, you can tell that it is sporty and that it is very special. And another cool little fact is that the Tucson N Line is the only Tucson model to actually showcase the exhaust. And yes, on the Tucson N Line you do have a dual tip chrome exhaust. So how cool is that? Oh, and by the way, I am a real sales consultant here in Orlando, so if you happen to live local, make sure you click the link below that says Schedule with Miguel. That way, I can guarantee that once you get here, you'll be getting me, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And since you know me, let me do my best to hook you up with the deals. But with that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Tucson. And now I want to do a side-by-side comparison of the side of the Tucson on the side of another Tucson, because here you have a silver Tucson Limited Hybrid. It is the fanciest version you can get of the current 2023 Tucson, but you'll notice that around those wheel arches is actually plastic. That way, in case you have rocks or chips or something, it's not going to scratch your paint, and I don't think it looks bad. But now, if you compare it to the Tucson N Line, no more plastic. It's actually painted body color, so even though the plastic serves a purpose and looks good, the body color around the wheels on the N Line looks great. Now, here's a question I get a lot about the Tucson N Line. Miguel, how much more gas does the N Line use? And I'm actually proud to report this one. The Tucson N Line looks more sporty, but it is actually the same engine as the non-N Line Tucson's giving. The 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, 187 horsepower, is nothing to sneeze at. And yes, you do still get a combined 28 miles per gallon city highway. So, oh, thank heaven, you won't have to go to 7-Eleven that often. Now, getting to the rear half of the car, like I said, you do have a very distinct rear bumper, and as you can see here, it is actually quite symmetrical. The lower half, next to the exhaust, has this diffuser-esque styling to it, so that way you feel like it's more of a racy car. And on the very top of the spoiler on the back, you also do have these little faux vortice generators, so admittedly, it's probably not going to suck you down to a racetrack because it's not a Formula 1 car, but sometimes looking good is being good, and this thing definitely does. Now, talking about actually being good at something, the Tucson is amazing because for this smaller type of SUV, you have amazing cargo spaces. You can see here with the liftgate open, and yes, it is an electric liftgate. You have a ton of room. I believe it's 38.7 cubic feet, if I'm remembering that correctly, and that is with the seats up. But let's say you need a little bit more room. Well, no worries. Go ahead, pull these little tabs on the side, the seats spring forward, and it nearly doubles the amount of cargo room, so that way if you really got to move some stuff, you don't have to go and pay for delivery. You can just go to IKEA, load it up, and take it straight home. And now that we're actually in the back, I want you to see something, because if you look at the wall of the car, you will actually see this little cutout, this big circle. And what is that? That is the subwoofer for the Bose speaker system. Yes, the Tucson N Line has 8 powerful Bose speakers. So if you really want to enjoy your music, you got it. So talk about quality and quantity. The Tucson N Line is killing it with that sound system. From the trunk, we're going to go ahead and move forward into the passenger compartment and onto my next favorite thing of the N Line, and that is the seats. Hyundai calls it the N Line combination seats because, as you can see for yourself, it's a combination of leather and cloth. So the leather is on the parts that you don't sit on. In case you spill something, it doesn't absorb into the seats. But the place that you do sit on, you have this cloth, which is extra grippy. So in case you want to make the Tucson N Line live up to its sporty looks, take a few corners, you're not going to be slipping and sliding like you're at a water park. That cloth will actually hold you in place. Now, if we continue to move forward, you will see the front seats might be your favorite place to sit if the back seats are already taken up for several reasons. Not only do you still have the same type of seats, but the stitching is a little bit more pronounced on the front seats than on the rear seats, at least to my eyes anyway. Another great thing is, being that it's a sporty model, you have a couple sporty cues. One of those being the sporty steering wheel, because the N Line Tucson is the only Tucson to bring this type of dimpled steering wheel. That way you can have the maximum amount of grip on the steering wheel, even if your hands are getting a little sweaty. Another great thing is the shift knob. Just like the steering wheel, it is dimpled in texture to really envelop you in that world of sportiness. Now, another cool little thing is this little cubby hole, and the cubby hole contains a secret, because this is where you put your phone for the wireless charging. So if your phone is capable of charging wirelessly, place your phone on this little rubber mat and voila, your car will start to charge your phone even if you don't have the cable. If we go back to looking at the steering wheel, I want you to actually look through the steering wheel, because another cool thing that the N Line brings is the digital dash. So in normal mode, it just looks like you're living in the future, but if you should happen to change it from smart mode, you will notice that the entire screen changes to red, and there is no doubt that you're ready to start rocketing around. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I very much appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share in case you are liking the content, and make sure you hit the little bell notification to let you know the second the newest stuff is actually uploaded. But all the things I mentioned, the 2022 had, so what have been the improvements on the 23? Well, I'm glad you asked, because for the first time ever, you actually notice that the Tucson N Line has a big touchscreen navigation screen. In the previous generation, you just had the regular 8-inch navigation. Right now that changes, because now in 2023, Tucson N Line also has the 10.25-inch navigation screen that you could see here, and it is so big that you can kind of do a picture-in-picture version. So if you want to use navigation on one side and see your radio, or see a compass, or see the time on the other, you definitely can. And that brings me to another really cool thing that the Tucson has, and it's kind of an inside-outside thing. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I'm sure you've seen it, and that is the black roof. The reason that the roof is black is because the Tucson, for the first time ever in the N Line, actually has a panoramic roof standard as well. In 2022, I loved it, but the only complaint I had was that it didn't have a panoramic roof. But now complaints have been resolved. You have the navigation and panoramic roof standard in the 2023 Hyundai Tucson N Line. And so guys, that has been the 2023 Hyundai Tucson N Line. And no, I didn't talk about every single little detail in the car because it would take way too long and not too fun for that. But if you like these videos, go ahead, like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you hit the little bell notification to be alerted the second newest videos are uploaded. But until next time, I'm the Gary Car Guy, and I'll see you soon. But as you can see around the wheels, now let's talk talking about actually being good at something. Your favorite thing is your favorite thing, and my favorite thing as far as Tucson, Come on, bro.